A checkup with heart. I've known for quite a long time that I was one of those lesbians. You know, the kind that falls head over heels for other women. Surely you understand. I stumbled upon this revelation when I was 17, which might not seem young to some, but coming from a small town in Maine during the early 2000s, it felt like a monumental realization. I remember glaring at the horizon while wishing Tom Hanks was something I could ever relate to. Anyway, I digress. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Emily Carter, and yes, I'm unapologetically a lesbian. Sometimes, I think we ought to hold summits, not to lament being gay, but as a networking event over drinks to help us single ladies find a date. It's not my intention to ramble on about how daunting it is to find a good woman who won't treat you like a novelty or drone on about her ex unless there's a punchline involved. No, that's not my story today. It all really kicked off about 3 weeks ago during what seemed like an ordinary visit to my gynecologist for my routine exam. As it turns out, health checkups are very similar to annual tune-ups for cars. We need them to keep running smoothly. Just look at Madonna, she's still kicking it. So there I was, strolling into the office, where Lisa, the cheery receptionist whose name I always forget, greeted me with her warm smile. I returned it and shuffled my way over to the waiting area filled with copies of outdated magazines. After nearly an hour spent in the chilly waiting room, I was finally summoned by a nurse who led me through the labyrinth of white walls into an examination room. Ugh, those rooms. Cold, sterile, and so very uninviting. After the usual vitals were taken, she instructed me to disrobe and don one of those glorified paper gowns that left little to the imagination. I complied. Reluctantly, she stepped out, leaving me alone in my embarrassment. Now, I haven't told you about myself yet, right? My hair's a messy chestnut bob, and I'm about 5 feet 5 inches. My friends describe me as cute, and sometimes I forget that I actually pull off makeup without looking too much like an imposter. All it takes is one probing question, and the world knows I'm a rainbow warrior, in a world that still struggles with that concept. A short while later, in walked Dr. Sullivan. My breath hitched as she entered with her welcoming smile. She had dark hair that framed her face perfectly, and her caring emerald eyes seemed like an open invitation to secrets. "Hi there, Emily, how are you feeling today?" she asked, her tone dripping with genuine kindness. "Pretty good," I managed, still dazed by her charisma. She settled into her chair, reviewing my chart, and I felt a mixture of admiration and vulnerability. "So, just the annual checkup?" she probed. "Yep," I replied, trying to appear relaxed while I mentally chased away the vivid thoughts of how stunning she was. "I mean, you know the routine. All right, let's get started, shall we?" She beckoned me to lie back on the table, and my nerves kicked into high gear. This was not about me being examined, it was about her hands being on my body, and I was torn between professionalism and my budding attraction. As she began the examination, I could feel each of her gentle touches more vividly than I had anticipated. "Let me know if you experience any discomfort," she said. I barely managed to nod in response. "Seriously? What discomfort?" The real discomfort was trying to mask my red-hot excitement. "Everything seems to check out on top, let's take a look below," she said, her voice steady, guiding, and utterly charming. With that, I found myself in a vulnerable position and absolutely flustered. "Okay, here comes the cold part," she warned, and as soon as she began, the chill took me by surprise. But the discomfort was quickly overshadowed by the thrill sending electricity through me. "You're doing great," she encouraged, her focus unwavering. Dr. Sullivan asked me about my last period, and I lost my footing, uttering a lie that I wished I had eagerly prepared for. March 20th. I stammered, praying she wouldn't catch my mistake. The truth was, I hadn't paid close attention to that part of my life. "So, are you actively dating anyone right now?" she continued, her eyes flicking up from the chart to me. "I'm single, so there are definitely no shenanigans," I remarked, trying to keep the conversation light. But as her brow furrowed in confusion, part of me knew I was suddenly standing under a spotlight of my own making. "All right, so, no men in your life?" She paused, and I held my breath. I felt like I was sitting on a loaded question, teetering on telling her the truth. I took a calculated risk. Well, it's not that I haven't swum in anyone's pool, but let's just say it's been a while. I'm really not into the whole male thing these days, I concluded, hoping she might pick up my hint. At that comment, her eyes lit up like a summer sunrise. You mean you're into women, right? She probed with a mischief-laden grin. I blinked in surprise. Yeah. I guess I am, I confessed, suddenly nervous that she might recoil. Instead, she burst into laughter. Honestly, I'm so relieved to hear you say that. You see, I'm a lesbian too, she said with a playful wink. My heart skipped a beat. This wasn't happening. I was suddenly caught in a whirlwind of emotions. I think I sputtered out something stupid before she asked me if I wanted to grab dinner that Friday. Baffled, I managed a laugh and replied, "Sure, Dr. Sullivan. Consider my heart very much intrigued." "Just call me Kate," she said, scribbling her number on a prescription pad, sliding it to me with an endearing smile. "I'll see you Friday then." As she left the room, I couldn't believe my luck. Me? On a date with my doctor. I hadn't just gotten a checkup, I had gotten a whole new chapter to my life story. That night cancelled out every awkward experience I'd ever had, and I found myself smiling as I dressed. Well, who would have thought a routine visit could lead to something so electrifying? And maybe, just maybe, this would mark the start of an exhilarating adventure out of the closet, and into the arms of someone who understood me. As I walked out of the examination room, I felt a mix of warm excitement and a touch of disbelief. Had I really just secured a date with Dr. Kate Sullivan? My heart raced as I navigated the lobby, wondering how a simple health checkup had turned into a thrilling invitation into something more. I stepped outside into the crisp afternoon air of Portland, Maine, feeling invigorated. The leaves were just beginning to change, splashes of red and gold painting the scenery. I took a deep breath, embracing the season and all the possibilities it held. Friday felt like a lifetime away, but as the days passed, I kept replaying our conversation in my head. Each time I thought about her, a smile crept onto my face. I found myself daydreaming about what Kate would be like outside the clinic walls. Would she dress casually? Would we talk about our favorite movies or guilty pleasure songs? Would I have the courage to lean in a little closer? Finally, the weekend arrived. I slid into a comfortable pair of jeans and a cozy sweater that complemented my complexion. I made an effort with my hair, adding a bit of curl for flair. As I stood in front of the mirror, I couldn't help but feel nervous energy bubbling under my skin. Arriving at the restaurant, I scanned the room, spotting Kate as she entered. She wore a fitted black dress that accentuated her curves, and her dark hair cascaded over her shoulders. It felt like I was staring at a work of art, and time seemed to slow as I caught her eye. She smiled and waved, and I felt a rush of warmth washing over me. "Hey, Emily," she greeted, her voice smooth and inviting. "You look incredible." "Thanks, you too," I replied, my cheeks warming. She graciously pulled out a chair for me, and I slid into my seat, trying to keep my composure. The evening unfolded beautifully. We talked and laughed over a shared plate of bruschetta, and I discovered that Kate had a passion for photography. She loved capturing candid moments that told stories, and her eyes sparkled as she described her recent beach outing where she photographed the sunrise. I found myself fascinated, hanging on her every word. As the conversation shifted to our personal lives, Kate's laughter became infectious. "You know, the moment you said swim in someone's pool, I thought, this girl gets it," she chuckled. Her honesty and playful teasing disarmed my nervousness, and I felt myself relaxing into the evening, hanging on her every word. "Honestly, being in the clinic all day, I don't get to have such personal conversations often," she admitted, leaning in closer. "Most of the time, it's just medical jargon and awkward small talk. So, thank you for being refreshing." I smiled, my heart fluttering. "I'm glad because I've never quite linked my doctor's visits with delightful dinners," I joked, feeling a surge of courage. "But then again, you've certainly changed that." As we moved on to the main course, the atmosphere had shifted into something intimate. Laughter filled the spaces between our stories, and I couldn't help but notice how light her touch felt when she brushed my hand to emphasize a point. The connection felt electric. At some point, we ventured into deeper waters as we spoke about our journeys in understanding our identities. Coming out was complicated for me, she admitted softly. In small towns, it can feel like coming out means preparing to face the world alone. Luckily, my family was supportive, but it took time. I nodded, recognizing that familiar feeling. Same here. It's such a mixed bag of fear and liberation. But once you finally take that leap, it feels like you're breathing for the first time. The conversation flowed effortlessly, and before I knew it, the server came with our check. Kate reached for it and I felt an urge to protest, wanting to split it, but she flashed a smile, that same captivating smile I couldn't resist, and I let her take care of it. After all, she had the right to treat me after our intriguing rendezvous. "Shall we take a walk?" she proposed as we exited the restaurant. "The waterfront looks beautiful at night." I nodded eagerly, the cool breeze wrapping around us as we strolled by the water. The quaint ambience of Portland at night created a perfect backdrop, and the rhythmic sound of the waves seemed to echo the excitement in my heart. "You know," she said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I really enjoyed this. Let's not let it be a one-time thing." "A second date?" I teased, knowing where she was headed, but wanting to hear her say it. "Absolutely," she replied, her expression turning serious as she stopped and turned to face me. "How about this weekend? There's an art exhibit opening I'd love to check out. I promise there won't be any awkward medical questions this time." Forcing back a laugh, I found myself gazing at her, my heart full. "That sounds perfect." As we stood there, the moonlight casting a silvery glow between us, I felt a wave of boldness. "Kate, can I?" My words trailed off, and I could see curiosity dance in her emerald eyes. I stepped slightly closer, emboldened by the moment. "Can I kiss you?" A soft smile spread across her lips. "I'd love that." Our lips met, and I was engulfed by warmth. It started tenderly, then deepened as I lost myself in the moment. Time came to a standstill, and I could feel the world fade away, leaving only our shared connection pulsing in the night. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and smiling, I realized this was more than just a casual date, it was the dawn of something beautiful. I would no longer be just a patient in a waiting room, I'd taken the plunge beyond the confines of small talk and into a realm where love could flourish. "Let's make this the first of many," Kate proposed softly, her fingers intertwined with mine. I glanced down, a playful grin on my face. "I am on board with that. Just be prepared for some intense conversations about hipster art and existential crises." She laughed as we resumed walking, our fingers still intertwined, and in that moment I knew. This was just the beginning of a beautiful story, filled with love, laughter, and countless adventures waiting to be written. The weeks flew by in a whirlwind of laughter, stolen kisses, and shared moments that stitched our lives together in beautiful and unexpected ways. Each subsequent date with Kate unfolded like a fresh chapter in a favorite book, with each shared experience deepening the connection we had ignited that first night. We wandered through art galleries and cozy cafes, danced at local festivals, and even took a weekend trip to a charming bed and breakfast in the heart of the forest. With every adventure, I found pieces of myself that I didn't even know were missing. Conversations about our dreams, fears, and desires flowed seamlessly, woven together by the undeniable chemistry we shared. One crisp autumn evening, after a dinner filled with hearty laughter and gentle touches, we walked along the waterfront where the leaves danced in the wind. The moon shimmered over the water, casting a silvery glow that made the moment feel magical. "Can we stop for a second?" Kate asked, her tone suddenly serious as she pulled me to a halt. I turned to face her, curiosity dancing in my chest. "Sure, what's up?" She stepped closer, the warmth radiating from her body enveloping me. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she said softly, looking directly into my eyes with an intensity that made my heart race. "I never expected to meet someone like you when I walked into that exam room. You've changed my life in ways I didn't know were possible." I felt my cheeks flush as I searched her eyes for the sincerity I always found there. I could say the same, you know. It feels like every moment we share is a little magic. I'm glad you feel that way, she continued, a gentle smile creeping onto her lips. I'm not going to lie, I had my hesitations at first. It's not every day you find a connection like this, especially with a patient. But I can't deny what we have. My heart soared. What do you mean? I just want to know if you'd be willing to take this further, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to know if you can see a future with me. Because I can't help but picture it. My breath caught, and I felt a rush of emotion swell within me. Absolutely, I affirmed, the sincerity pouring from my heart. I want to explore every possibility with you, Kate. This is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. She stepped forward, and in that moment, under the brilliant stars, our lips met in an intoxicating kiss that held promises of what lay ahead. It was tender and deep, filled with passion and the unmistakable bond we had nurtured over the past few months. When we finally pulled away, our foreheads resting against one another, I felt as though time itself had paused for us. I think we've only just begun, I murmured, still intoxicated by the closeness between us. With a bright smile, she took my hand once more, and we resumed our walk, the conversation flowing freely. We shared dreams and aspirations, each promise we made to one another feeling like brushing strokes on the canvas of our lives. As the chill in the air grew more significant, I nestled deeper into my sweater, and Kate instinctively wrapped her arm around me, pulling me close. It was comforting and reassuring, and I felt my heart swell with warmth. Days turned to weeks, and as winter approached, our bond deepened. I met her friends and she met mine, weaving our lives together in intricate patterns of love and acceptance. I watched her passion for photography blossom as she captured moments of our adventures, each snapshot immortalizing our story. One evening, as we cozied up in front of a crackling fireplace after a long day, I felt a surge of gratitude wash over me. Kate, I began, my voice barely above a whisper, I know we've only been together for a short time, but I can't imagine my life without you in it. She turned to me, her expression softening. I feel the same way, Emily. You've brought so much joy and color to my world, and I can't help but dream of what's to come. My heart raced, feeling bold and emboldened. You know, I've always wanted to travel. See the world, experience new cultures and art. Let's do it, she replied, her confidence unwavering. I mean, let's start planning. Where's the first place you want to go? Without hesitating, I grinned. Paris. The art, the food, the romance, it's perfect. She laughed, her eyes sparkling with possibilities. Then Paris it is. We'll plan it out together. The prospect of our adventure consumed our conversations over the next few weeks. We pored over guides and maps, planning itineraries that blended art exhibitions, cafes, and all the hidden gems we could find. As winter settled around us, bringing the holidays, Kate surprised me with a little getaway to a quaint cabin in the woods. We decorated it festively, sharing hot cocoa and cozying up under blankets while exchanging heartfelt gifts. The moment felt like a fairy tale, each smile and laughter echoing in the serene silence surrounding us. Then, one special night under the shimmering glow of fairy lights, Kate pulled me closer. Emily, you make everything better, she started, her voice trembling slightly. I've never felt this way about anyone before. With you, I feel at home. I gazed into her eyes, a rush of warmth pooling in my heart. You've shown me what love truly is, I confessed, feeling tears threaten to spill. And I never want to lose this. She caressed my cheek, her thumb brushing away a stray tear. Promise me we'll always keep this connection, no matter what life throws at us. I promise, I whispered, leaning in to connect our lips once more. With the wood crackling in the fireplace and warmth surrounding us, I felt certain that every moment, every chance encounter, had led us to this very moment. We were weaving a tapestry of love filled with laughter, hope, and endless possibilities. As the snow began to fall outside, blanketing the world in white, I knew that my life had changed in a way I could have never envisioned. I had found love, adventure, and a partner in Kate, and together, we would embark on a journey that would write our wildest dreams into reality. And for the first time in a long while, I could see the horizon stretching out before us, glorious and full of promise. I was no longer just living, I was truly alive, ready for every twist and turn that our story was destined to take. With Kate by my side, there was no limit to what we could create together. This was just the beginning of a lifelong adventure filled with love, laughter, and unabashed joy. Together, we would make magic happen, one beautifully orchestrated moment at a time.